I had pretty much given up. I accepted the way I was. I would walk by a mirror and I would go, who is that? And I got bigger. I was still overweight.
Here's what your body is showing us. Here's a mirror, a very detailed mirror.
The MRI doesn't lie. The numbers speak for themselves. And today, 50 pounds. There's a bounce in my step. It's night and day. I'm just stronger overall.
Statistically speaking, we've given you a better fighting chance of having a more longer, robust life based on what we've done thus far. We're just getting started. Hey, Shawn, thanks so much for flying down from Washington to hang out with us for the day.
No problem.
And do the podcast.
My pleasure.
I'm super excited about this interview. We're going to get into the journey of what you've been through the last 5 months. Let's first make some introductions. Tell us a little bit about who you are and a bit of your background.
Well, obviously I'm Shawn Loutsis. I met you about 9 years ago, on a film that we did together with my daughter, and the rest is history. You know, we'll go back to about when I was 25.
Okay.
I rode bikes, from 22 on. I rode bikes till I was probably 40 some years old. And then in between, I married at 25. I lost my wife to breast cancer. She was 43, that's 42 at the time. And I remarried about 2 years later, had a daughter. I gained weight. So when I met Tammy, I weighed about 185, mm-hmm. and I was fit. Mm-hmm. And then I gained weight, mm-hmm. and then I lost weight, and then I gained weight, and then I lost weight. And I ran into Tammy bought me a training opportunity to train with a trainer, whoever I chose. Mm-hmm. So I watched Kelvin for a couple weeks, mm-hmm. Who is my trainer now.
Mm-hmm. What's Kelvin's last? Do you know Kelvin's last name?
Thomas. Kelvin Thomas is his name.
Up in Seattle area.
Yep, he's in the Seattle area.
Shout out to Kelvin. Yeah. He's an amazing guy.
He is. He is. Yeah. And so I trained with him up till about 2012, 2013, and my business tanked. Mm-hmm. It was 2008 mm-hmm. when the housing crunch hit Seattle, yeah. and lots of builders lost their shorts. Yeah. And I thought I was invincible because I was commercial. Yeah. And it caught up to commercial a couple of years later afterwards. And so then it was dire straits for a while. I was hurting, and I had to quit training, and I had to focus mostly on starting a new company, and that's where I'm at today.
It's interesting. One of the things that impresses me most about you is the resilience factor. We talked at length about that year, 2008, and around that time, and your comeback trail was extraordinary financially, and the commercial business that you run right now is enormously successful. But you went from rags to riches to rags to now riches again. Yeah. It tells me a lot about who you are as a person. You're a guy with resilience built in, which I really appreciate about you, and you're calm in the storm. Things could be falling down around you. And one of the coolest parts of who you are is just like, you have a faith, you have a grounding that's like, we're going to be okay. No matter what happens, we're going to be okay. And that resilience is translated into this project that we're about to talk about. It's interesting too, to see that in your early career, you were, in drywall. And so a very physical job. You're going hard when you're doing drywall, and that physicality helps to keep weight at bay, keeps you in shape, and keeps your mind and your body active. And it's an easier gig for a younger guy to do that. The older we get, and now that you're leading a company like that, a lot of it's just you become more sedentary. You're at a desk, trying to call the shots, hire the people, and get things on the right track. And that just requires a lot of brain time, less physical time. And so that plays into, some of the physical spiraling that we all, succumb to as we get older, if we're not in physical jobs. So to see that all happening for you has been quite an interesting learning curve for me, and to understand that with regard to caring for you now as a patient, and as a dear friend. So yeah, let's talk a bit about that. So my experience with you has been, like you said, we became business partners in the film business initially, which, parlayed into friendship. After we finished Black String, we became really dear friends, and our families, our wives are really close, and we love your daughter, Sanaya. We watched her grow from age 12 to now she's, a college senior. It's insane to the amazing stuff that's happened with regard to our friendship. And now, we're going back from friendship to now more business, and now as in a new endeavor as a patient. So you've become my patient over the last few months, which was kind of interesting to see that dynamic kind of shapeshift. And we both kind of vacillated around that. Like, do we step into the patient, clinician relationship? How do we do this objectively without clouding my judgment, without feeling an awkwardness there? And it took a bit of just working it out, figuring it out. It's like, what's it going to look like? Are we okay with this? Is this ethically sound? Can we do this on the right footing? And sustain, what happens if something happens, in that process to you physically? How do I handle that? Will it cloud my judgment? Am I less apt to send you to a specialist, more apt to send you to a specialist? And so that's the challenge that, I have to rise to every day and think about carefully. The beauty of our company, TitanArc, is that we have a multidisciplinary approach. It's not just me, myself, and I. I've got a team that I'm surrounded with. And if I have any questions or concerns, I have subspecialists at my beck and call. I've got a close team that can see this objectively. And so I think if it's just me, then it becomes more of an ethical dilemma, but it's me plus a big team around me. And I've always been in my career the kind of clinician that if I don't know something, I'm gonna look it up, I'm gonna research it, and if I still don't have the answers, I'm gonna call for help. And that's what we're doing with TitanArc. We are building an entire multidisciplinary team around you. We do the type of care where it's human to human. It is deeply, quantified on the data that we get from you, both biologic data from lab testing and MRI, and a deep dive interview, the history and physical exam process. We've spent a number of hours, working on this. Let's talk about your process. When did you start thinking about getting back in shape this particular go around? When did you realize, okay, I'm off the rails here, I need to fix this? Why? How did that? What were you thinking, and why were you thinking that? What were some of the things in your mind that, like, I need to do this because of, and then fill in those blanks for us?
Well, it started like immediately back when I was even 10 years ago. I thought, even when we first met, I thought at that point I think I was about 225, and I was still physically fit and felt good, but I knew I needed to lose weight, and I thought, I'll do it. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'll start next week. Yeah. And so I thought about losing weight and getting healthy again for 10 years, the last 10 years, and to drive the force was, you talked about how we met on set. And my daughter had her 12th birthday on set, if you remember right. So that was pretty cool. And now she's 21, going on 22 pretty soon. In October, she'll be 22. So there's some history there. But yeah, I've probably thought about getting back in shape for the last 10 years. I needed that push, I guess, over the top, because I came up with all kinds of excuses why I could, start tomorrow. So,
was there any particular time where you thought, okay, this is just kind of how aging works. I got to settle into this and be okay with the fact that I'm in this place physically? Did that thought ever cross your mind? Like, I might be able to do something about this, but most likely it's just a function of the aging process. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I did. I thought about, when I turned 60, I thought I'm fine.
Okay.
I weighed 225 at that time too.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, I'm okay. And I feel good. I feel great. I did like 80 some push-ups or whatever. I remember like it was yesterday. I jumped down the floor and I said, watch how many push-ups I can do to my wife and daughter at the time. And I did 83, I think.
Wow.
And so I thought,
unbroken push-ups?
Unbroken.
Nice.
Clean push-ups, as Mark Wahlberg would say. They were clean. They were clean. They were down, touched my chest, all the way back up.
Yeah.
But I was still overweight. I don't care how many push-ups you can do. If you're either overweight or you're not. Yeah. And I was overweight. And so a lot of the driving factor of me getting back in shape was my daughter. Wow. I thought, we used to ride bikes together. I had a tandem, which a 2-seater bike, and she would sit on the back and I'd sit on the front, and we'd ride 30 miles easy, no problem. And I missed that. I got away from that. I used to play with her out every day. I'd come home from work and we'd go out in the yard and we'd play basketball or something. We'd do something. And then when we moved to the new house, I kind of changed. I focused more on work and less on playing sports and stuff. And so I got bigger and I got bigger and bigger. And as you know, you start doing films and you think you have all this time, but you don't. You when you do films, you tend to eat unhealthy because you grab whatever you can get when you can get it, and you grab water, when you can get it, and there's a lot of energy drinks that focus around because you're up late. It's not uncommon to be up at 2 a.m. shooting, and you're used to going to bed earlier. I literally got out of shape, and to the point where when I first started film, I could go to not so much anymore. I really felt it physically. Yeah.
The 60s sneak up on us. I'm 61. You're 65?
Yeah, 60. I'll be 66 August 4th.
Wow. So birthday's coming up a day before my wife's birthday. 60s are no joke. I mean, all my friends in that age group we begin to struggle. We begin to realize, okay, there's an end to this game. We're on the back half of life. And we begin to feel our age and begin to feel our biology begin to shift. And so, it becomes more of an issue. It's more apparent to us, okay, how do I slow this train down? Try to slow the train down. That's a massive challenge, which is the whole point of Tighten Arc, is to help that process, to recognize it and measure it, and then begin to pull the biggest levers that we can to help slow the train down.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are around this concept, the Tighten Arc concept of patient care versus going to see a regular doctor. We know that, seeing your primary, a cardiologist, anyone in a hospital setting, outpatient setting, can do essentially the same thing that we're doing. What is it that differentiates us from conventional care?
I would have to say conventional care is exactly that. It's you go in, you see the doctor. First of all, the nurse takes you into the doctor's room. You just wait here for the doctor, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and the doctor finally comes in, and he spends about 5 minutes with you at the most, and tells you everything you already knew in the first place. You're fine. You go about your business, whatever. And the difference between you and them is night and day. I mean, it's just night and day. I can pick up the phone anytime and call you, and you'll answer. You'll text me back. You'll whatever communication I have, email, whatever. You'll instantly respond. And I might wait a week or two or a month, for a doctor to respond or even to make an appointment with a doctor. And that's the biggest difference is what I get with you.
That's great. Yeah, so access, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate and push back on that, right? Yeah. So I have, my parents were Kaiser patients before they passed, and they had access, but it was via email. So they could go to their doctor, appointment based, but at least they could email their doc. So the audience member watching may say, well, I can email my doctor and they'll get back to me within 24 hours, 7 days, well, not 7 days a week, but Monday through Friday. What did you experience that eclipses that accessibility?
Again, I don't want to step on your toes, but it's night and day because I can email you any 24/7 and you'll respond 24/7. So I could text you at midnight and you would respond.
Yeah.
So, and the doctor won't. Okay. I don't care if you're sitting at home right now and if you're being honest with yourself, you're saying, hey, I have to wait till morning before I reach out to the doctor. Yeah, you can go to emergency and whatever, but I can pick up the phone anytime, any day of the week, Saturday or Sunday, it doesn't matter. You'll always respond. Yeah.
So that's the one experience, right? Where you see it. Yeah. And again, not to disparage our colleagues, my colleagues. Yeah. I've worked in that space for the better part of, I've been at this for 30 plus years. So I've worked at Kaiser. I was in the Navy doing primary care, family medicine. I've done years of emergency medicine, have seen all of that in play. And the desire as a clinician, and every one of my colleagues out there will agree with this, it's like, I want to go deeper. I want to have more. I want to ask more questions. I want to be able to spend more time with, with helping them to fix the outcome. But I've got 10 minutes, my next patient's coming in and I got to keep moving. And it's unfortunate, but I got to shut this interview down, because of that. And I can't do I got my physical exam. I list your heart and your lungs and on you go. Here's your prescription. And and hopefully I've got some education time in there. Hopefully the nurse handles what I can't handle. It was a frustration for me. And every one of my colleagues would agree that it's like, yeah, we're working so fast and have to see so many patients. We do the very best we can. And there's a lot of great companies out there, managed care companies that do good work, even with those constraints, financial and otherwise. And so this is not to disparage them in any way. It just is a function of the systems in which they're working in. And so knowing and seeing and feeling that as a clinician and as a patient, what could I build that would be different? What if I had, nothing but time and I had, almost unlimited resources? What would I bring to bear that might be different than those primary care settings? And so you began to feel that, I think. What was that feeling like? Like when you started to feel and see that difference? Yeah.
With you, there's a Zoom call, and you went in depth with me, asked me the questions that needed to be answered.
It was called the history.
Yeah, the history. Right? You asked me all kinds of questions about the history and, did my parents have cancer or, for lack of exactly remembering, how the interview went. It was more of a one-on-one with a doctor. Instead of writing it down, I was actually able to tell you, and you asked the questions that you needed answered, not, for my benefit. So that was the difference.
That was how long were we on the phone or on the Zoom?
So it seemed like over an hour.
Okay. So, and then we decide to bring you here to Southern California. So you have dual residence. You have a residence up in Washington State. You have a residence here in California. So I can see you here under my California license, currently working on a Washington license, but the fact that you have another residence, another home here, we could do all that work here while you're physically here. And so you fly down, and where did we put you up? What was that all? Tell us about that experience.
So after the interview, maybe 2 weeks went by, and I flew down you called me one day and said, "Hey, are you ready to go?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go." Okay, we'll fly down this weekend, and I forget the name of the hotel.
Casa del Mar. Yeah.
Casa del Mar.
Yeah,
it's a really nice hotel on the beach in
Santa
Monica Pier.
Yeah.
But, you can see the pier from the room. And so I flew into LAX. And you and Frank picked me up from LAX, and you met me there, and took me to the hotel, and showed me around a little bit, and let me settle in. And I think we had lunch or something, but shortly after you said, "Hey, go to your room, relax." So I went to my room, relaxed, and then later she did her interview that night. I think the first night.
Yeah, we call that the angel interview, the Titan angel interview.
Yeah, Titan angel. She is my angel.
Which informs the context. It gives us context on who you are deeply as a person beyond the history and physical.
Right.
Yeah.
So she asked me, even more questions than you asked me, more personal questions about my personal life and what I ate and where I see myself, a year from now or whatever. So the interview with her lasted a good darn near an hour, at least an hour. And I grew more comfortable with her because this is the first time I met her. And so I grew more comfortable with her, and we hit it off, within a half hour. I felt like I've known her all my life. That's how personable she was. And during the interview, she said that she would come to the house, to our house in Woodinville, Washington, and look through our cupboards and not poo-poo us, but say, "Hey, you're eating healthy here, but you could do better over here."
That's our install, right?
Yeah.
Our Titan install. We had Matt from Oxfit come out. He had installed the Oxfit, the XS1 into your home. We spent 2 days out there going through cabinets, going through your fridge, teaching you, going shopping with you. It was Augustina and myself, you and Tammy. I'm at the store going through each aisle, like, okay, what do you guys typically like to eat and cook with? Not to completely upend Tammy's process, right? She's already a phenomenal cook. She's taking really good care of you. Shout out to Tammy. She's incredible. But helping her to kind of think about Titan Arc protocols in the context of how she would typically cook. So we're not completely throwing you off base, but it's like, if you use pasta, what can you use in its place that has low glycemic index, for one example? If you cook with meat, what type of meats are best from a heart, health standpoint? And, what is a ratio of, macro calories on a plate? What should that look like? What about the timing of the food and eating? And there's a whole host of things that go into, what you eat, what your fridge and your cabinets look like, what things could be out of your cabinet that shouldn't be in there, your fridge as well. And then your sleeping quarters, microplastic exposure, what's in your environment, that's putting you at risk from a environmental standpoint. So we put an Oxfit in your garage. The largest one is the XP1, which retails at about $40,000. It's an incredible piece of machinery. We'll talk a bit about that. The XS1, which it's a smaller platform, retails for around $4,000 without all the peripherals. Every Titan Arc client will get that machine, but if you want to upgrade to the XP1, you can for an extra cost. And we've struck a deal with Oxfit that reduces that retail price. So great machine. Let's talk a bit about that and what it was like having Matt there in place to help us train on that.
Yeah. Before Matt even came out to the house, you set up a meeting for me to meet Matt at his place, because they happen to have a place in Washington, Bellevue, I think was. So I drove to Bellevue. I met Matt there. He showed me the XS1 and he showed me the XP1. And the XS1 is comparable to the tonal in size. You fold it down and it takes up a very small footprint. XP1 would take about a 6x6 or 6x8 footprint. So if you had the room, the XP1 makes sense. But if you didn't have the room, the XS1 makes sense. One, yeah. So, I had the room for the XP1 because I had built on a big RV garage and that I parked one car in. So I have all this space, and it made sense to go with the XP1. So I did the upgrade with you. You guys gave me a great deal. Was not nearly $40,000 like it retails for. Oxfit was nice enough to give you a cut, and you were nice enough to give me a cut. So I did it. I upgraded, and I'm glad I did because it's a phenomenal machine. Yeah. It's a phenomenal machine. So then I was away at the time when Matt came and had his team set it up, but when you came up and with the whole Titan Arc team came up to the house, it was all already set up. And then Matt was nice enough to come. I did, I think, 5 or 6 exercises that he tested me on.
They were strength and range of motion and balance, right?
Yeah. And it was, I was weak in all areas. Because I have an issue with my knee, so I couldn't jump. You have to use the machine to understand what I'm about to say, but it's an incredible piece of machine work. It tests your jumping ability. It films you as you test. We went from that to squats. It measured chest press as well. There's a virtual girl, she touches her toe or something like that, and
range of motion,
and you have to touch your toe to follow her. And so they're testing your range of motion at that time you're following the virtual girl that's on the screen. At the end of testing, it spits out how you did.
So you've already noticed a considerable amount of strength just based on the numbers that you see every day. When you and your coach get in there, you see the numbers on the screen. It's like, okay, I remember I was lifting this number, just a few months ago. Now I'm here. You notice the range of motion. You mentioned your squat is getting deeper and much easier to do now. Yeah. So range of motion and balance, it has a plate on the bottom that throws you off in terms of when you're doing an exercise, it'll intentionally move you in a different plane of motion so that you're working against, you're helping to train your cerebellar function, the back of your brain that helps you know where you are in space and your proprioception, your ability to kind of, know where you're at and be able to hold your balance.
I don't pretend to know everything that the Oxfit does. I'm always learning something new that it does. But what I've noticed is when you're lifting with it, you look at the screen and it'll tell you if you're lifting more with your left or more with your right, or if you're even. And obviously it's better if you're even. But again, I favor my right leg. So I've noticed I would favor my right leg on the machine itself. Yeah. And so it would not force me, but it would tell me that, hey, you need to be even. And so I'm lifting, I'm trying to lift even. And that's a good thing because that's how the body's supposed to work.
How's that translated in terms of your knee pain before and after?
Well, there's, I don't want to give all the credit to the Oxfit. A lot of it is due to me losing weight and whatnot, but the strength training has definitely made me stronger. In the right knee as well as the left knee, I'm just stronger overall.
Has that strength increase in your right leg translated into less pain?
Yeah, there's less pain. I complained about my right knee quite often. I would, not always, but I would complain about it. And I haven't really noticed any pain for a good 2-3 months now.
That's incredible. So you have decreased pain and increased functional capacity of that leg. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Functional capacity in what regard? Like let's say you're at home and you're lifting boxes. Like what does it feel that you can trust that knee more? Is that what that means?
Yeah, just getting in and out of the car, tying my shoes, everyday stuff that I've noticed completely different. Walking up the stairs and down the stairs, completely different. Before 6 months ago, I would walk down the stairs and I would feel my knee would give out on me and I'd literally almost fall down the stairs sometimes.
Okay.
I'm not just making that up. Okay. And I haven't experienced that for the last 3 months.
Wow, that's great. This is another differentiator in Titan Arc is the install. What we've tried to achieve and what we're continually trying to improve upon is the ability to almost fail-safe, force function, the behavior component of health. The physician will see a patient in 15 minutes. They come up with an assessment. They come up with a treatment plan. They educate, and the patient goes on their way. What happens with that patient at home is really, the doctor, clinician has no idea what happens on the other end of that interaction. In my experience in primary care, very few patients actually went home and did what I asked them to do and encouraged them to do. We are trying to kind of force function, make the decisions, the engineering of the environment in which you live, such that the chances of failure are mitigated as much as humanly possible. So putting the right foods in front of you and changing the environment in a way that it becomes automatic for you. You don't have to think about it. And removing all of the things that typically cause a patient to fail in their own environment. So that's the point of the install, is to help them, in those moments where they just need to make a decision and make it quickly and not think about it. So we talked a bit about the install, right? That part of the experience. We also, when you were in Southern California at the hotel, we had a phlebotomist come out and draw a lot of blood from you. So let's talk a bit about those numbers, where they were. Let's start with your weight. So there's the most obvious objective measure, and we're going to cut to B-roll here of the previous interview you did with Dave, and talk about what that felt like and now where we are. So start with your weight. The most obvious objective measure is, how much the scale has changed. That's one obvious. We can see it. We've seen it. It's pretty profound, the weight loss. We're on a journey. We're not even there. We're not at ideal body weight yet. We're only 5 months into this process. And so what weight were you at initially when we started, and where are you at today?
Well, initially when we started, when you approached me to ask me if I wanted to be your patient, and I agreed, I weighed 249.
Wow.
I'm embarrassed to say it, but I weighed 249. I carried my weight better than most, but I was still big. I would walk by a mirror and I would go, "Who is that? Whoa!"
And it's for the audience. Man. How tall are you?
5'8".
Mm-hmm. Okay.
240. I was as tall as I was wide, and I'm not just saying that. I was very uncomfortable in my skin, very uncomfortable. And today I tipped the scale at 199.
That's awesome.
I lost.
That's so amazing.
What is that? 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Even 50. Yeah. Wow. It's 50 pounds even I've lost in 4 months, maybe 4 months in a week. Mm-hmm. I think maybe.
We started late January, right?
Yeah.
That was when you were here in Southern California with the initial.
So it's been about, well, I didn't start losing weight, until shortly after we had met at Santa Monica Pier, when I met you at the hotel. Mm-hmm. I didn't start losing weight until it was February.
Okay.
Yeah. When I started losing weight. So February, March, April, May, June. Yeah. It's been about four, maybe 4.5 months. Mm-hmm. And I'm down 50 pounds, and I feel great. I feel alive again. I feel like I could, take on the world. It affected my business. Mm-hmm. I would be sluggish at work. Mm-hmm. I'd be sluggish at home. I'd come home and I'd sit on the couch. I'd be exhausted. Mm-hmm. And now not so much. You know, now I can't wait to get out to the Oxfit to work out. I can't wait to go on a long walk. You know, and it's been life-changing.
Wow. That's powerful. That's great to hear. Wow. Yeah, it's been impressive to watch your journey and to work through the early struggles. Tell us a bit about the early process. Like we talked a lot about the treatment. You've learned a lot about human physiology. We've spent, I don't know how many hours have we spent on the phone together and in person just talking about this. Let's start there. What is that?
Just, you know, at least 3 times a week. You would call or I would call you at least 3 times a week, sometimes every day. You know, for the, you know, quite a while it was every day, and then it was 3 times a week, then it came back to every day, and then it fluctuates, but it's never less than 3 times a week we talk on the phone or you know, you'll drop a text, hey, how you doing? And I've never had that. I've never had a doctor reach out to me as much as you have, or ever reach out to me. I've had one doctor, he said my blood pressure was high, and that was about as personal as he got. You know, you have high blood pressure. We need to get your blood pressure down. Well, okay, you said we, you mean I need to get my blood pressure down, right? It's not a we situation. With you, it's a we. I really feel like, I really feel it's you're in it with me, you know. There's that much going for Titan Arc. If nothing else, it's a we situation.
Yeah. Let's break down the idea of the weight, right? So the weight was uncomfortable. You felt that. What have you learned thus far? We've talked about why it's important to keep your weight down from the biological, and I'm here to help you translate that and describe it. But what's your understanding now that we've kind of gone through quite a bit of education as to why that's important, that the weight was really problematic for you?
Well, weight transforms to inflammation. And so I've always known about visceral fat, but I've learned more, completely more about visceral fat. And from what I understand, from what the numbers tell me, is I had a lot of visceral fat. And for the audience that doesn't know that, I'll let you explain that to them. So when I first tested, a good six months ago, back in January, I think, because let me go back. You more than just blood test, physical, talking with Augustina, you know, talking with you. The next day we went and did a CT scan, and we did a MRI. And we did a VO2 max test as well. And I'd be very interested to see what my VO2 max is now. First of all, we've done other CTs. We've done other MRIs. So that's how I know I've lost visceral fat. I've lost a lot of visceral fat, and there was a time when we were. You know, questioning, hey, how much muscle mass have you lost and whatnot. And because, you know, you lose 50 pounds, you're going to lose some muscle mass. So we expected, you know, quite a bit of muscle mass. I did anyway. But the MRI was, you know, doesn't lie. The numbers speak for themselves. I lost very little to no.
No, you didn't lose any.
No muscle. Yeah, I lost no muscle mass, and I lost all visceral, and
the majority, the ratio of visceral to subcutaneous fat was mostly visceral fat.
And so what that meant to me is you know, I'll let you explain the doctor side of things, and you'll explain a lot better to the audience than I will. I study more, I read more because I'm interested, and I find out you know, little things, and I'll call you and ask you, and hey, what about this? And you'll say, oh, that's great. You've been doing your studies and whatnot. So you're understanding a little bit more about what we're talking about and stuff. So again, I'm lost for words.
Yeah, no, that's all right. The problem with adipose tissue around your organs, what we call visceral fat, is that it creates inflammation in the form of IL-6, interleukin 6, TNF alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 1 beta, and that process creates a breakdown of fatty acids, which are shunted to your liver, which causes a whole issue of fatty liver disease and cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline issues, certain types of cancer. And so the goal is to reduce that visceral fat as much as humanly possible. It's working mostly at the visceral level in you right now, based on the MRI results we have. Roughly a third of the visceral fat has just been evaporated. If you look at the ratio of visceral fat to cutaneous fat, you're about 30% down from where you were. There's more room to go, but basically the result of that fat loss around your organs has reduced your inflammatory burden. We know that based on labs like the high sensitivity C-reactive protein. We know that because your insulin resistance you were insulin resistant based on a HOMA-IR reading. That number has translated now to non-insulin resistant. So we can go down to less than 1. That's the goal. We're getting there. But we see a trend of your inflammation, insulin resistance. We also measured a number called the hemoglobin A1C. You were in the pre-diabetes range at 5.7, and now you're down at 5.3. You're a non-diabetic. You were heading towards diabetes, potentially type 2, diabetes, and now you're no longer a pre-diabetic. So we see that translation, objective measures. We've quantified that change, not just with the MRI, not just with the mirror. You can look in the mirror and say, "Oh my goodness, I've lost a lot of weight." Your friends are saying, "What happened? You've lost all this weight." That's the most obvious, thing that we see: the cutaneous, the fat underneath your tissues. But the visceral fat, you're losing more visceral fat than you are cutaneous fat. That ratio is profound in your actual health. The fact that you had metabolic disease and you have very little metabolic disease happening right now is a phenomenal trend, which will continue to improve. We have you on a host of medications. We don't need to get into the details of that, but a few things that we're using right now that are really pulling the levers hard on moving you out of pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, inflammatory, processes into metabolic disease, which is really encouraging. Which we know, based on research that basically you have slowed the aging process down to some degree, which we have yet to measure. We haven't measured that yet. We will at year 1. But we know to some degree we've probably slowed the aging process down in you. And perhaps, no one knows if we've extended your life at this point. But if you stay on this path, there's a high probability that at least the last few years of your life will be much better. It'll feel better as opposed to being sick for a decade before you pass. Right?
Yeah.
So we've extended your health span, right? This idea of feeling good, having usable strength and awareness, up to the very end of your life. Whether we give you another 10 years, 20 years, we don't know. Anything can happen between now and then, but statistically speaking, we've given you a better fighting chance of having a more longer, robust life based on what we've done thus far. And we're continuing to push you in that direction as much as we can, while we're also trying to, make sure that we're not missing any obvious diagnoses of cancer. The whole idea behind full body MRI is to look for cancers. That's one of the main reasons. But also we have the benefit now of measuring your muscle mass and your fat to muscle ratio, all of that. We now know. We've ruled out obvious cancers. The MRI that we use, it comes from a company called Coreviva down in Newport Beach. Let's talk a little bit about Coreviva right now and that specific, why we chose Coreviva over any other MRI. Okay, what was your experience going down there with Dr. Alan Alexander?
It was great. I mean, I can't speak high enough about Dr. Alexander. I mean, the whole experience of going there was, light years ahead of anywhere else I've been. He seems like a real down to earth guy. First of all, when I went for the MRI, it was about an hour process, and the process started like a week before I even went. I got a phone call from I think her name was Vanessa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Asking me when I can go, and I'm like, when I can go. I thought I was supposed to call you. so they call you. They emailed me like 6 times. Mm-hmm. Be sure to do this. Be sure to do that. What TV show would you want to watch? Well, I wear glasses, so I can't really watch TV without my glasses, and I can't have glasses in your machine. So, oh, that's okay because we got music. What music do you want to hear then? Oh, well, I'm old school. Journey. If you have any Journey, yeah, we have Journey. We could play Journey, and I listened to an hour of Journey. It was great. It was the white glove treatment, of the MRIs. I've done MRIs. I've had about, I don't know, maybe 4 in my lifetime, but nothing like this. That's just night and day.
Nice. Yeah. It's concierge care at its finest. The facility's gorgeous. The beauty of their MRIs, it's proprietary technology that they themselves created. So Alan is not just a physician, board certified in radiology and sports medicine. He's also a scientist. He has a Master of Science, and he's adept at AI. And so he and his team built an AI algorithm. It took him 2 years around, the refinement of their MRI process. We did an MRI initially in Beverly Hills, one of the best facilities down in Beverly Hills, which was great. We got everything we needed there, but as our baseline. But after the fact, after we we saw that MRI and compared it against Coreviva's MRI, it was almost like standard definition versus 4K in terms of the level of resolution, their ability to see the finest detail in your body. It was pretty extraordinary to see them side by side. We actually had them side by side. We brought the CD, the data from Beverly Hills and compared it against Coreviva, and no fault of Beverly Hills, they did great. And we had great useful information, and they also did your CT angiography, which they did a great job with Clearly AI overlay. We'll talk about that as well. But Coreviva's MRI was like bar none. It's extraordinary down to the 1 millimeter level. Where you can pick up the tiniest tumors.
There's no cut on Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
it's 100. When we went to Beverly Hills, we did the CT scan there and the MRI. We thought they were state of the art.
Yeah.
When we left there, we're like, oh yeah, send all the patients here. Yeah. And then when we went to Dr. Alexander's office, it was just better.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you say? And everybody that out there, all the people watching this know that I'm a sports guy, and it doesn't hurt that Dr. Alexander was the Dodgers and the Lakers private
physician.
Yeah. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So that carried a lot of weight. I knew I was in good hands when I was with Dr. Alexander.
For sure. And the experience was different, between Beverly Hills and Dr. Alexander's place. You got the MRI, it took about an hour to get the MRI. Then we sat down with Dr. Alexander, you and I both, in his office with a big screen TV on the wall. And he's talking about your body from head to toe, literally an hour's worth of time or more with him going through every jot and tittle with regard to your body. He even demonstrated exercises on how to strengthen your muscles in your neck because you had a little bit of degenerative joint disease going on there. How to, using a TheraBand, using the Roman chair for your low back, in real time, sitting down with him and jamming about everything about your body. And then we talked at length about your knee. What can we do about your knee? What were you plan to do now? So Dr. Alexander, being not only a radiologist, he's sports medicine trained. Yeah. What are we going to do with your knee here in the next couple weeks or next month?
Well, there's a process called PRP. We schedule that in next, like the 22nd or 3rd. And then every 3 weeks in a row, he needs to see me. And he'll do an injection in my knee versus a full-blown knee replacement, which I was recommended from another physician. He said, "Oh, you're the only hope for you is knee replacement." And I thought, gosh, knee replacement. I don't know about that because once you get a knee replacement, you're done. there's no going back. You can't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And so, I him-hawed around and I talked to you about that. And let's, you had mentioned, well, let's get another opinion from another specialist and whatever. And so it just happened that that Dr. Alexander goes, oh, well, let's try PRP for a fraction of the cost. And hey, maybe it'll probably work, but maybe it won't. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't take, but I'm not out a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Again, maybe knee replacement is in your future. We don't know. It's not like knee replacement is bad necessarily. It can be really good. It can be life-changing for some patients who have debilitating knee pain, bone on bone with, laxity and all that. So maybe that's your future, but why jump to that right now when there are adjuncts we can do between now and then that might, we've already eliminated much of your knee pain by virtue of losing weight, building the muscle around it with the OxFit. You've already seen profound improvement just based on those two factors alone.
I feel so much better with the visceral fat going and the inflammation down and the whatever. And take the inflammation out of the knee. That probably has a lot to do with it. Perhaps.
Yeah. A lot less stress on the knee. You have more supporting structures, the muscles are stronger around it. First
I lost 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And to take 20 pounds off your body, that's 20 pounds off your knee walking, and it's 30 pounds, and it's 40 pounds, and it's 50 pounds I've lost off of my knee. So that has a lot to do with it. I'm sure of it too. Yeah. Is there proof? No, but it's common sense.
Yeah. That's fair. Oh yeah, let's talk about, okay, so we did the full body MRI at Beverly Hills initially, and then we did a coronary CT angiography, a CCTA, with a clearly AI overlay. So this is a study that we injected, contrast into your arm, which goes through your body, and then they do a CT scan of your heart. And they're able to measure, the vessels, the blood vessels that supply oxygen-rich blood to your heart. And we know we were able to establish, do you have any coronary disease? And if so, how much? Where is it located? In which arteries? And is that plaque stable, unstable? Is it hard plaque, calcified plaque? Is it soft plaque? We're able to get all of that data through the CCTA with clearly AI overlay. And we did that in you because we know that your cholesterol is elevated. We know that you've had, hypertension, which, by the way, you're no longer hypertensive. We forgot to mention that. You had high blood pressure. Now it's no longer high. Yeah. So we took you from hypertension to non-hypertensive.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So we look, but because of that history, family history, hey, we need to figure out, do you have coronary disease? And if so, to what degree? Because we want to know how hard to push on the medications, lifestyle modifications, to push that to halt that disease process. And if we're so lucky, maybe even reverse to some degree. And we came back with, we got a lot of information about your heart. And that changed the trajectory of, how we thought about treatment for you. How aggressive do we need to be with medications? Tell us about that experience. What was it like to go into the CCTA? And for our audience, you do incur a bit of radiation exposure with that, a little bit, right? It's about the equivalent of roughly a year's worth of transient radiation exposure. So you have to weigh that potential risk with the data that you get on the other side of that. And how helpful is that data in terms of changing the trajectory of treatment protocols and your disease processes? We made that decision together. Yeah, so when we got into the data coming back from the CCTA, and this goes to also, you wore a continuous glucose monitor. When you're getting this kind of data back, your lab studies, all of this objective data, it's like, here's what the MRI reads, here's what the CTA reads, here's what your labs read. We get into this concept called the Hawthorne effect. So when you get the data, it lands on you differently than just saying, hey, you should lose some weight, you should reduce your blood pressure, you should eat better. Instead of that, or in conjunction to that, the idea of like, hey, here's what your body's showing us. Here's a mirror, right? A very detailed mirror. That changes your behavior in a way that's profound. That's called the Hawthorne effect. Tell us about what that felt like for you, getting this data back, and how it changed the way you think about your day-to-day decisions.
Yeah, it definitely affects it. when I first started, you recommended I get an Oura ring, which reminds me, I've lost 50 pounds. And I don't wear an Oura ring anymore because I lost it yesterday. It fell off, it fell off in Ritzville, Washington, and I had already driven about 2 hours to I forget where I was. I drove about 2 hours home and realized I lost my ring.
That's crazy.
And I went to the reason I found out I lost it is I went to check it to see how I was doing, my steps and all that stuff. And I realized I lost it. So anyway,
that's terrible, but also awesome at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess the upside is I get a new ring. So in fact, I ordered it today.
Nice.
But I also, like you mentioned, I wore a glucose,
the CGM,
monitor, and you had mentioned that hey, when you start wearing that CGM, you had mentioned that hey, you might want to have that soda now, or you might want to eat that dessert now and watch your glucose spike.
Learn how your glucose responds.
And sure enough, I did that, and I'm like, whoa. Yeah. You can't be doing that anymore. Yeah. And so you used the chicken versus the pizza thing, and it was a no-brainer for me at that point. At that point, the pizza was gone. It was the chicken for sure.
Made the decision.
100%. It made it easy. I don't want to make it seem like it's easy because it's not. Eating different and drinking different and whatever. But it gets easier. At first it was hard to change my diet, and I'm not here to make it seem like it's not hard, because it was hard. There was a lot hard, but it's not hard now. It's easy. It's easy to decide not to have dessert. It's easy to decide not to have the soda. I haven't had a soda for 4 or 5 months.
That's great.
I haven't had a soda. I haven't had dessert. I had this weekend I was on vacation. I had like a bite of cake and a bite of ice cream, but it that's enough.
I mean, the first year is always the hardest. With Titan Arc, we do this, it's basically a year-to-year reset where every year, we get to the point where we look back and we say, okay, where have we gone? And, how far have we come? And what can we do to continue to change and improve upon where we are? Everything's changing. Everything's shape-shifting with the science. The hope is that, if longevity escape velocity is real, we may see that in the next 10, 15 years. Closing the gap between now and then is one of the things that we try to achieve. How do we, me being 61, you being 65, maybe there's a chance that we will see this place where the technology reaches this place where, we can significantly slow the aging process to the degree where we're not really aging forward, we're aging in stasis, in place, or even perhaps even beginning to reverse the clock for ourselves to some degree with the science that's being brought to bear. Whole different, discussion. No promises that that's coming. But if you're curious, audience, take a look at LEV, look it up. Look at guys like David Sinclair, and there's a host of scientists and companies out there working on that problem set. But one goal is with Titan Arc is to help people close that gap between now, where we are currently with the science, slowing the aging process down as much as we can. We're working on all 12 hallmarks of aging with what we know from a scientific standpoint. We are evidence-based. We're not chasing fads, and there's a lot of noise out there in this space, in the longevity space, with regard to peptides and nutraceuticals and all kinds of gadgets and gimmicks that people kind of lean on, thinking that that's going to be the thing that's going to help me live longer. When in fact it's the basics that we've talked about at length here today. It's about exercise. It's about getting good sleep. You mentioned, the wearables, like your Oura ring, the CGM, the things that we can, sleep, rest, exercise, diet, connecting with others. Everything we talked about, I can count on one hand. And they're the things that move the needle. They're the biggest levers that we can pull on. And you have been pulling very hard on those levers over the last 5 months. And we've seen tremendous benefit from that. Yes, we are using technology, we are using nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, but those are the 5 things. One hand, count them, simple. Anybody can access these things for free, essentially. But we've brought to bear, the best tools, how to move that needle the best way possible.
Yeah. What I've learned, listen to your body, because your body knows.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Oura Ring and the CGM that I wore. It does have a lot to do with rest, and I'm learning. Sleep and rest, and so I grew up thinking that you have to work out 24/7. You have to work out. That's it. That's all you have to do. You have to work out and work out and work out. And now I'm realizing that no. You work out, but just as important is you rest.
Yeah.
And I've noticed over the last couple months that after I rest for a day or even 2 days, and I feel guilty because I maybe I don't get my steps in, or I don't get my workout in that I thought. Well, lo and behold, I'll feel better the next time I go to work out. In fact, I just worked out Friday with my trainer, and he was feeling kind of sore and tired, and I didn't say anything to him, but I was feeling rested and ready to go, and that's why, because I did rest and I did get ready to, I was ready to go. The one thing I definitely get with Titan Arc, the whole team, is that I'm the kind of guy that doesn't really know the medical field, so to speak. I'm not well versed in the medical field. If you ask me a drywall question, I'll give you a drywall answer, because that's what I do. I do drywall, I build buildings and whatnot. And I don't want to have to concentrate and know everything there is about the medical field to get the benefits that I get with. So I go to you guys, and I want you to do the heavy lifting for me in the medical, and you do. You do that without me having to go outside and of my expertise and think about what I'm going to do, better for my life. You do it for me, and I not everybody's like that. There's plenty of people that want to do their own research and whatnot. I'm not like that, and with Titan Arc, I get that.
That's cool. Yeah, we do our best. We surround you with the best minds in the space. We've got this concept of, well, first of all, let's talk about the team. We've got myself. You can look at our website. Please visit our website, titanarc.com. You can read about each of us. But, we have a medical director, Ryan Carmuda. He's Harvard MD trained, got his MD out of Harvard Medical School. He got his MBA out of Harvard Business School. Loves this space, loves the longevity space. We're trying to avoid all of the scatterbrain stuff that's happening in this space. There's a lot of noise. So guys like Ryan, we've got, our Coreviva team, Dr. Alan Alexander, MD out of George Washington University, residency trained out of UCLA, and again, team doctor for the Dodgers and Lakers. We have Augustina, who's been in this space for the better part of 15 years, who's our operations expert, chief operating officer, co-founder. Dave Gutman, who's also MBA out of Wharton School. So we have the business acumen coming to play for our business and how to run things and make the patient experience. Between Dave and Augustina, our patient experience is bar none. That is our goal, is to make a really fun and exciting and invigorating experience where patients come through and they learn a lot about their health, and we bring the best science to bear. Our team is expanding and growing. We also have a concept that we're going to be bringing to bear once a year retreat for our members in a really pristine place where we have a conference and the best minds coming to speak on our stage called the Titan Arc Summit. I'm really excited about bringing that to bear here soon. So this is where we've come. We're at this place where you felt these changes. It's profound to see. It's such an honor to have you here today and talk about this. Thank you for being so open and honest with us. What are your goals physically right now and with your life? Let's talk about, this is where you are in terms of your weight, what you've seen with your inflammatory markers, and the way you feel. Where do you hope to go? Give us the objective data in your mind. Like, what's your ideal body weight? What do you hope to see your labs do? And then, let's just start there.
My ideal body weight would be probably 185.
Okay.
Maybe 190.
Okay.
That's probably where I look the best.
Okay.
I feel the best.
Mm-hmm.
Anything lighter than that I'd be reaching way back in the way back machine, closer to high school. So I don't know that that's feasible, but if it is, so be it. I don't know. I don't know where my objective is weight wise. It doesn't really matter. I'm satisfied right now. Mm-hmm. I could stop now and be satisfied with my weight. But the way I feel is all that's where it's at. It's how you feel. Mm-hmm. It's really, my father passed away a year ago, July, mm-hmm. a year ago in July. Mm-hmm. And I watched him the last couple of years of his life. He was restricted to a walker. And so my goal would be to live out my life to the end as best as I can. And that would, no offense to him, but that would be minus the walker. Mm-hmm. I hope that someday I go within a month. I mean, I know that sounds morbid, but I don't want a prolonged life where I go from a walker to kind of being bedridden to being bedridden, and then go. I don't see that in my future. So that's my goal.
Yeah,
great. To take it there.
Great goals. That's awesome. Yeah, I think you're definitely well on the way. You've so impressed everybody on our team. We're just blown away. You step off the plane and we're like, what the heck? How? Wow. You see it, the very obvious change in you. Yeah. And now you're only, my goodness, you've closed the gap, 90%. You've only got another 10 to 15 pounds probably to go before you're at your fighting weight.
I know.
That's crazy.
I think of that.
Yeah.
And it seems like it would be easy to get the last 15 off, but again, it doesn't matter. I would be satisfied with my weight, and now it's how you feel, mm-hmm. and I feel fantastic. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I there's a bounce in my step. It's night and day. Mm-hmm. I had pretty much given up. I mean, when I say that, I don't mean giving up on life. Mm-hmm. I just mean I accepted the way I was. Yeah. And I would get done with work, as I stated before, and I'd be mentally drained. Mm-hmm. And it carried over into physically drained, and I would plop down on the couch, and the next thing I'd know, I would go to bed. Yeah. And that's completely different. I walk faster. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to do something exciting. Mm-hmm. I go for walks with my wife now, which I didn't do before. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I want to be there for my daughter. And I find myself when I come down to LA and stay in my the residence that we have here in LA. I can't wait to get up in the morning and go for a walk. Mm-hmm. I walk to get coffee and stuff. And before I would just lay around, sit around, mm-hmm. and just, my vacations were more sedentary, mm-hmm. for lack of a better word. Yeah. And now they're let's go where we go next. And I just want to thank you, and I want to thank Titan Arc for changing my life.
Wow. Thanks, Shawn. I really appreciate that. That is really powerful.
Yeah.
I receive that. Yeah, my team receives that. That is such an honor. It's a great place to be, to have served you in that capacity, and to see you take the tools and work them to the degree that you have. It's been profound to watch. I'm so impressed and so honored and so proud of you as your friend. Yeah.
Well, a lot of that is the whole team. Yeah. Everyone's been encouraging. They've been there for me, all the way from Dave to Augustina to Frank to and of course you and your wife Marty. So yeah, thank you again for everything you've done for me.
Thanks, Shawn. I appreciate that. Well, that pretty much sums it up. Man, what a great discussion. Thank you so much, Shawn, for being here and for making the flight down just for this today. Yeah, looking forward to the remainder of the journey. We're just getting started.